So, talk is open for discussions. 2-3 questions, please.
Please speak loudly so that everybody can hear the question.
Sir. Hello, sir. Sir, can you just please explain the halogen bond and stuff once again? I just could not understand that.
Halogen bond. Yes. So suppose you have OHO, hydrogen bond. Huh? OHO hydrogen bond. The hydrogen is delta plus, no? Hydrogen is delta plus. Oxygen is delta minus. OHO, hydrogen bond. Hydrogen is delta plus, oxygen is delta minus. Do you understand up to that part?
Yes.
Now in a halogen bond, you will have, for example, CCl, N. Between Cl and N you put dot dot dot. N is delta minus, that Cl is delta plus. That's what I meant when I said the halogen has to be electrophilic. Then it plays a role that is somewhat equivalent to that of the hydrogen bond. Please read my article in accounts, which I wrote with my two students, Arijit and Srinu. We have written that it is somewhat like hydrogen bond because of this, and it is somewhat different for the reason that the hydrogen atom, or basically like a proton in a hydrogen bond, has got practically no size, whereas the halogen atom has considerable size. So it is like hydrogen bond because halogen is electrophilic. It is not like hydrogen bond because halogen is much bigger than hydrogen. So if you read that article, it will trace the history of this halogen bond concept, which has actually been coming to us from around 1950 or so. People didn't know it like that, and the idea of the halogen being electrophilic only came around 1980, 1985. But people knew these contacts were there, they didn't know exactly what they were. And after 2000, the name halogen bond actually was given. And I didn't tell you that just like the IUPAC committee of hydrogen bond, there was an IUPAC committee on halogen bond, where too I was a member, where we have defined halogen bond. So you can please look at that. Please.
This is the first query. Second query is it possible after getting the fourth component, fix it all together in a stoichiometric manner? Just, are we getting it?
Good, both are very good questions. First one, that when you take this, the methodology I have given you two methodologies. One is this stepwise building up. That is 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Certainly it can be done, it is a slow and steady method. The second method I have given, which we put in Angeventer, is combinatorial method. It requires a certain amount of flair. Getting a 4 component doesn't mean that you have to get a 3 component. But when you do the experiment, you have some fairly early indications that you are on the right track, because we noticed that when we choose the compounds correctly and design properly, when you, for example, add 3 components in the flask and crystallize, largely you get the 3 component crystal also. You don't, like if you get ABC, theoretically you may think I will get also AB, BC, AC, all those things. We get a little of those things, but not so much. Which means a good strategy, if you have got it, usually it converges to the right compound. Second question which you wrote, that if you put all these things together, will you get stoichiometrically? Absolutely 100% all the time you get. There is no variability in that. Once you got the correct combination and I didn't put in a lot of details. Among these 4 compounds, some compounds may be more critical than the others to the formation of these higher order codes. There's still a great deal of things that are to be done. Pharma, even people will be, you know why pharma is interested? Like a simple example, if you take a two-component crystal of a drug and something else. Drug might give the medicinal property, the other something else may give the solubility property. So you can take an insoluble drug and make it soluble. So if you take a three-component, I can put in three different properties in a modular manner. So all this is limitless, you can go on doing this.
There is another question. Actually, is there, before going into detailed crystal structure, you know, 4 component, 5 component, 6 component, is it possible to get some fingerprint that we are in a right
I
direction?
didn't have time to talk about that, but right now we are exactly, you could be echoing our thoughts that do we need really all the time detailed single crystal structure analysis, synthon, blah, blah, blah. Do we need all this? Not necessarily. We can do simple IR markers where we can see in a certain systems, like we are working with amides quite closely now. So we take amides and acids. I told you that you have this amide acid synthon. But there are other kinds of amides and acids where you don't get this synthon. Okay? And you get all sorts of other crazy synthons, which we can identify not with crystallography, but by using IR markers. The most beautiful thing is that when you get this amide acid synthon, which I described, it has certain kinds of mechanical properties of that elastic type. And when you don't get that synthon, you don't get those mechanical properties. Which means directly from spectroscopy, you can go to properties without going through the intermediate step of crystallography.
Another small question.
Yes.
Because regarding the nucleophilicity or electrophilicity character of the halogen,
Yes.
can it be modified by putting some other groups or other?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can fine tune like any physical organic chemist would fine tune.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us go back to the beginning of the lecture.
Please.
Acetic acid versus
Benzoic acid.
benzoic acid. Probably you have argued that the CH bond participation in hydrogen bonding is a crucial factor.
Could be.
Could be. But now the question is that the methyl hydrogen versus aromatic hydrogen, obviously electronically, benzene hydrogen is more favorable candidate for the hydrogen bonding,
Yes.
but it is failing.
Yes.
What is the reason? It is
The reason is
definitely,
the phenyl group is too big.
that is not electronic factor.
It's a steric factor.
Yes.
Actually, I should say these are all governed by stereoelectronic effects. Both the steric and electronic part coming. Methyl group is small enough to fit into that. You see, there's another thing about the dimer. If you take dimer, the hydrocarbon groups are far away from the hydrogen bonding part. So what you can do is the dimer can be packed very beautifully by close packing of those alkyl or aryl residues. And it is also insulating off from the hydrogen bonded part. Take a catamer, remember the catamer structure that I showed. These alkyl groups can cause steric hindrance with each other because they are only about 5 angstroms apart in that catamer. So therefore that group cannot become too big. So you see you have to put both the electronic and the steric argument only there. That's why catamers are generally, by the way, not so common. If you take acids without other substitutes, just aryl alkyl with carbon, about 10% of the acids are catamers, and most of them are also chiral acids and all, because chiral acids cannot form a dimer because you can't, there is a center of symmetry. So there are other issues that start happening.
So lastly, for the multi-component system, I understand that the main hurdle probably is the entropic disfavor. There is a severe entropic disfavor that will disallow the process.
Absolutely right. That means the enthalpy has to that much overcompensate for all these things. Absolutely right.
You suggest that to consider hydrogen bond as a chemical bond. That means you
Please say that again.
you suggest that to consider hydrogen bond as a chemical bond. Hydrogen bond as a chemical bond.
Chemical bond means?
In the chemical bond we follow the superposition principle. Means that's like a molecular orbital. In the chemical bond we
No, because the covalency part is only one of the components of a hydrogen bond. You've got electrostatics, you've got van der Waals, you've got charge transfer, and then you've got covalence. So it is only in very, very strong hydrogen bonds, the covalency part starts becoming significant. And so we would call actually a hydrogen bond as a composite interaction, which has got distinctly 4 different types of effects. And coming back to the earlier point on halogen bond, it is the relative proportion of this polarizability, charge transfer, van der Waals, which actually distinguish hydrogen bonds and halogen.
I want the question of the above. Actually, what happens you see the donor, CH bond or AX bond. Donor is actually, donor orbital is being participating in overlapping with the X is anti-bonding. That is sigma star. Sigma star. It is definitely a molecular order is getting
No, undoubtedly it's the case. No, there's no question about it. But the whole point is the extent of covalence for the overall stabilization of the hydrogen bond. At the best cases, we take these very strong hydrogen bonds which are called quasi-covalent and all. If you take hydrogen bifluoride anion and things like that, even there, maximum is 30-40% covalency is there. That's all. So by the time you come to CHO and all, it is less than 1% covalence. There is no electrostatic components and all are much more down.
Another inquiry. Actually, I missed the point. The correlation between the kinetics and reproducibility of the crystal structure.
Say that.
Correlation between the kinetics and reproducibility of the crystal structure.
What did you mean by that?
Reproducibility of the crystal structure, it means that it does not depend on the kinetics.
Sorry, I don't exactly understand.
Reproducibility means thermodynamically stable structure.
So you will also capture kinetic structures. Because
it depends on the non-equilibrium state. Kinetically, if it is not, and it depends on the experimental situation.
No, essentially, can I say that crystallization is a kinetic phenomenon?
But that means, if it's true,
because depending on changing the conditions, I could capture the kinetic crystal, or depending on changing the conditions, I could capture the. Actually, in a rigorous sense, we never know what is the thermodynamic crystal, because there could be still tomorrow some form that is found which is even more stable than that. We don't know. But to all extents and practicalities, we can say that certain thing which is the stablest. But I am telling this because we work with a compound ourselves, very strange compound, trinitrobenzene, 1,3,5-trinitrobenzene. The form that was known since 1870 or so, a new form was not found till the year 2002 when we did some work on that compound. And believe it or not, that form that was known for all these more than 100 years is less stable by 6 kcal per mole. It's a very huge difference. So why something that is 6 kcal per mole stabler, how it took 120 years to be discovered? It is not for lack of working with that compound. So, this subject, like all other subjects in chemistry, it throws up so much enigmas and mysteries that sometimes you only feel very humble that you don't know too many things. I will tell you.
One last question.
Sir, regarding halogen bond, which of the halogen, probably I think halogen should be electrophile.
Yes, it must.
So,
by the way, that is it is part of the definition only.
So iodine, most probably.
Definitely iodine is best.
Secondly, if we consider, say, HI.
Excuse me?
HI.
HI.
Then in between two I there is hydrogen. Again in between two hydrogen there is I. So which is actually you are telling the which
Will you call it hydrogen bomb?
and there is some confusion.
Definitely there is. That you call it a hydrogen bond or you call it a halogen. The thing is that in the case of the example which you gave, Probably iodine is not an electrophile, it's probably iodine. It's probably I minus. And so probably I would say that in that case it is more of a hydrogen bond. But your difficulty and your puzzlement has certainly affected many people in the field. It is not the first time and there is a question.
Because of its nucleophile regime, it is hydrogen.
Yeah, I mean, in your example, iodine is definitely the nucleophile. There is no, it is not an electrophile at all. So I will not call, it's not a halogen bond, it is a hydrogen bond. By the way, this is also for students to know this question. Halogen bond doesn't mean any ... where halogen is involved. Halogen must be electrophile, I delta plus, Br delta plus, Cl delta plus. There is one group of serious researchers in Italy who are even saying that under some conditions you will get F delta plus. So yes, fluoronium. So even those things are forming fluorine bonds there. Looks, the evidence data and all looks good so.
Good morning, sir. Sir, in the definition of hydrogen bonding, you said the only restriction is the adjacent atom should have to be more electronegative than the hydrogen.
Correct.
So from this point we can say that the bond CH can also form hydrogen bond.
Correct.
So you said that the scientists are interested in case of aldehydes. So is it
nice
intramolecular type or?
Who is asking that question?
Sir.
Very nice question, I said. I wish some of the senior researchers in hydrogen bond field listen to you slightly. This aldehyde, very great question. Because that is a hydridic hydrogen, it is not protic.
Yeah.
So when you take aldehyde, when you bring an electronegative species near aldehyde group, that one doesn't go near the hydrogen, it goes near the carbon.
Yes, sir.
It looks like the CH hanging outside and that oxygen or nitrogen, it goes near the carbon. And in fact, we have a couple of papers on this topic. And about 10 years ago, we published the crystal structure of formaldehyde. And of course, this is done by using the technique of cryocrystallography, where you take this formaldehyde and then you are able to produce crystals at very low temperatures and high pressures. So you can see beautifully some of these interactions. In fact, the crystal engineering of aldehyde compounds is a very wonderful area of work which can be taken up. In fact, some of these plastic elastic crystals which Shubhankar has done, many of them are actually aldehydes. And so when you look at the environment of a formyl group, it's really quite different and it's a different situation altogether. Many of them are not even hydrogen ones.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So we have just listened the seminar from a pioneer in the crystal engineering research. The Department of Chemistry, Vishwabharati, feel honored having you as a speaker. So please join me with big hands to thank Dr.